Hi, Markus.
Oh, looks like we're live.
We are live.
Hey, Heiko. Hey.
Hi, Markus. Thanks for everyone for joining. Hope you have a good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And how are you, Markus?
I'm fine, thanks. So back from Amsterdam, had a great time. So yeah, I'm really fine. How about you?
Yeah, I'm fine too. Yeah, Amsterdam was great, ESPC, and we have a very interesting guest today with Guy Leech, which we'll bring in very shortly. Before, as usual, we have a little theme for the day where something that happened a while ago on this very day, on the December 7th, which is the Blue Marble photograph, which you see in the background here, which was taken by Apollo 17 in 1972, showing the Earth, part of the Earth at least, and it's kind of an iconic photograph. I think it was, you can see it on many different buttons and pictures and images all around the world.
And of course, you saw it live, right?
Well, I could have. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I'm old. Thanks for reminding me. Yes, that's true. Maybe that's also a good time to bring Guy in because he might have seen it live as well. So let's do this. Hi, Guy.
Hello there.
Hey, Guy.
Thanks for joining us. And what a hat! I mean, this is like, wow.
The hat and the shirt.
You must be already in Christmas mood.
Yeah, I kind of went out of Christmas mood many years ago, but now I've got grandchildren because yes, I am that old. I was 5 in 1972. But
okay, now we know that. Okay.
Again. I wrote my first code in 1980. So how old were? Yeah, not born, I guess. Most people.
Okay, Markus, were you born there?
No.
Okay. We don't ask any further questions.
I wasn't even liquid at this time.
you were just a thought. Maybe you were just a thought.
Yes, just a thought. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So thanks again, Guy, for joining. I mean, I think you are one of the few people who are Microsoft MVP, Citrix CTP, VMware vExpert, and also certified for Parallels. I think not many people have all these titles, right?
I think so. I mean, I've not done it for a while because it doesn't really mean anything, but I did knock some PowerShell up a while ago to comb the various sites with the people on to cross-reference. And back then, there were only 5 of us, I think, in the world who'd got all of those awards, not certifications, because these aren't.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. The vendor goes, oh, you seem to like our technology and talk about it a lot and help us. Because for me, those are where I'm an extra pair of QA hands and eyes, because I can break any software. When I worked at AppSense many years ago, they used to call me the bug whisperer because I could just whisper at things and they'd fall over and break.
Okay, so you had this talent of touching one thing and exactly the one that's not working?
Absolutely. I can break anything. People go, right, this is ready, it's bulletproof, and it's like, oh, no.
Okay.
Always expect the unexpected, which is where my PowerShell code comes from. It's like, what could go wrong here? What idiot stuff could a user input? Okay, well, let's make sure we cater for it.
Yeah, I mean that's a very cool approach, which I think we will kind of cover later on when we go through the questions. And for everyone who is, of course, watching, please, if you have questions, let us know. Would be great if you have anything that you would like to ask Guy, and to
I did put him within reason on social media. But...
Yeah. So maybe sometimes the answer will be 42. That's okay.
You've seen my tweets, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is of course. Yeah, so I think we will start with the question. Markus, do you wanna start?
No, you start.
Okay, I start. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So Can you share your journey on becoming an MVP, CTP, vExpert, and what key factors you were contributing in these fields? So I guess this is years long of experience, right?
Yes. Would you like me to share those experiences, or is this just going to be a yes/no game?
No, I would. We would. Okay. Next question. No, I would. I think we could spend some time to hear about your experience.
Yeah, no, it's what I'm keen to share as well, to encourage other people, because community is key to me, really. I mean, I've been a developer, like I said, since 1980, or put another way, across 5 decades. In the early days, writing software for Unix, and before I got into this Windows thing way back in 1995. But it's only really recently that I've started in the community side of things, and that's what really gets you towards these awards from people like Microsoft. So look at the Microsoft MVP. It's it's a badge. There's a few thousand of us around the world, but spread across categories and countries. There aren't that many per country, and they're awards for people who are seen to be as experts in their particular areas. Mine is cloud and data center, but cloud and data center actually means PowerShell here, because the PowerShell category was removed several years ago. But you get it for contributions to the community. So whilst I do, my day job is generally writing, mostly PowerShell, sometimes C#, but mostly PowerShell for software vendor customers. But I try and share those, that as much as I can. Some of that work is actually shared anyway through those vendors. Others can't be, but the stuff I can share, then I tend to put on GitHub. I don't blog as much as I used to, because it's too much like hard work. So I use Twitter, X, as a micro blogging platform. So you might see a thread with 10 or 20 posts from me on it, because I'll say, I've been troubleshooting this particular issue, and this is how I did it, particularly with PowerShell. And I hope those things help other people figure out how to troubleshoot, and realize that your PowerShell is more than just a DevOps language, whatever DevOps is. Do I do DevOps? I don't know. It seems to be a cool word, and I don't even have it on my CV. But the PowerShell can be used for a lot more different things. I've done many presentations in the past, and again, this is where you put these as contributions on things like your MVP application. Because somebody nominates you, saying, "Hey, you do a lot of stuff in the community. Have you thought about applying to be an MVP?" Because what does MVP bring you? Well, it doesn't bring you, I would say, fame and fortune. Maybe a little bit of fame, depending on how much you want to use it. I don't go out on the streets everywhere where I live here in the north of England saying, "Hey, I'm an MVP." Hey, although I've got the stickers for it, so I could put them on various things and shout about it, and people go, "What's an MVP?" Oh, minimum viable product. Yes, that's what I mean. And a lot of people would say that fits me as a minimum viable product. Maybe don't even reach that bar anymore. But contributions are presentations, for instance. So in your PowerShell user group that I presented at before, I take a technical topic, try and explain it to fellow PowerShell people, so not necessarily to my mother, who probably wouldn't get it. She's more stuck in COBOL days, to be honest, which is actually where my father started and how I got into computing. Just going
really, it's a very rare competence, but still very. I just read an article that it's people still looking for organizations looking for people knowing about COBOL, right?
Yeah, heavily wanted again.
Well, my dad unfortunately can't do it because he's dead, which is a reasonable excuse, I think. But I mean, that's the reason I got into IT. He used to bring a Commodore PET, which is a computer, not an animal, back from his office. Some weekends with a load of games on. He was a COBOL programmer. And I thought, this looks interesting. Then I started to figure out how to cheat in these games by changing the basic. And then I thought, I'll do a degree. And now my oldest son, who's nearly 30, I am old, honest. I had him when I was 6, and he's now a developer as well. So he's a 3rd generation programmer, of which I don't think there's going to be that many in the world, 3rd generation. And my granddaughter is 3.5, so I think she's a little bit early to be a developer, but yeah, she could be a 4th generation, and that would be rarer still, I think. But going back, and I'm pretty awful at tangents, but I do remember I was talking about the MVP program. So again, yeah, the presenting stuff, and what does the MVP program bring? For me, it brings a lot of Azure credits, which is very useful, because I don't work for, I'm not actually technically self-employed according to my accountant. I work for my own company, which I've got a head count of 1, which makes the Christmas party a bit dull, but and not much gossip, but that's life. But I have no customer who is going to give me laptops or licenses or Azure credits. So I have to get them myself. So that's kind of the MVP program. Same for licenses, for things.
And he's gone.
Did we lost him?
I guess.
Have I lost you? I just saw a bit of whirring on this stuff.
Yeah, you're back. You are back.
No, this is my front. My back. Some people tell me is better looking. But, and you've frozen again.
Yeah, but I think he's okay. But I think nothing.
Okay. I shall just drop to a PowerShell prompt and check. I don't know if anybody can see me if I'm talking to a void, but hey.
Yeah, we can.
I'm good at that.
Yeah, we can, and we can hear you, so that's okay. This is live, This is not recording. This is live.
Yeah, good. My PowerShell is awesome.
Okay, let's see if you can.
Oh, bear with me, callers.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to switch to a hotspot because my Virgin Media broadband has let me down yet again. And the 4G backup that it's supposed to have got, no, that's not working either. Awesome. So let's switch.
Or do you have maybe a satellite dish under your Christmas hat that you can use?
Aha. No, I'm pleased to see you. Right.
A Starlink.
Disconnect my. Just wait for that to connect.
Okay. So let's see.
Am I back in the room? Am I still here? Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Right,
okay. Someone was asking, can it be fixed with PowerShell? I mean, everything can be fixed with PowerShell, right?
Well, interestingly, I've got a PowerShell one-liner that I put out on Twitter before, which uses the speedtest.exe executable because that can output JSON. And I've got a one-liner. I think I put it on my paste bin, which is where I tend to put the one-liners, whereas scripts go on GitHub. And that, when we first had a few problems before it started, it said 429 megabits down, 40 megabits up. And when I ran it, when things were whirring away and we'd lost connectivity, it said download was at 0, upload was 0.
Ooh, okay. This explains at least. But now we are back.
And now we're back. I'm running it again now that I'm running over 4G. Now this Virgin Media broadband I've got has got an automatic 4G backup, but that just doesn't work, which is great. Never has done, but will they sort it? Will they? Yeah, I'm not allowed to swear. So yeah, I've just hotspotted off my phone at the moment on the 4G and download 16, upload 13. But hopefully that'll be enough, unless I start lots of rapid movements and a bit of dad dancing or grandpa dancing. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that looks good. So maybe just as an additional part of the initial question. So was MVP first, or the VMware vExpert, or the CTP?
Actually, the VMware vExpert was first by a long way, because that was before I actually really got into the community stuff properly. Because of the VMware vExpert program, only started in about 2009.
Okay.
And I actually got it awarded for the first 2 years, but not for anything sort of EUC or PowerShell related, because I didn't actually get into PowerShell till 2014. I'm a relative newcomer to it. But back then, I was number one in the VMware communities for a product called VMware Server.
All right.
Which was a Type 2 hypervisor. So it's not bare metal hypervisor. That ran on top of Linux or Windows. And because of my sort of background as a Unix developer, come to the Windows world, I kind of know both those operating systems pretty well. So people had problems with this VMware Server, which was a free product, so there was no technical support. So I kind of did ad hoc technical support through the VMware communities. And I'm still number one for those products because they killed them after 2 years. And so, the interest in them, although there's still the occasional post, hey, I'm trying to run VMware Server. Yeah, it's not been updated for over 10 years. Yeah, you might want to use something slightly newer. But that's how I got vExpert first. Then came Citrix CTP, then VMware vExpert, and then the last one, which I think I've only had for about 3 years, is the Parallels for the Parallels RAS side of things.
Okay, interesting. So I think you already mentioned a little bit about PowerShell, but I think it's a good segue to another.
Sorry, PowerPoint, did you say?
Yeah.
PowerPoint?
I wanted to say SharePoint, but this is I cannot mention this.
Scare the listeners away.
Yeah. So this is the same reaction. This is the same reaction I get when I mention it with Markus, because he's an absolutely SharePoint fan, not right?
Totally. Yeah. So I love it.
Not. Okay. So I think let's find out about your PowerShell journey.
Next question. So when did you first hear about PowerShell/Monet, and why did you find it interesting?
Yeah, I was just sort of alluded to then. I actually came to PowerShell, started using it in anger in 2014. And as we know, it's been around since 2004, 2005, is it? I can't remember. It's had its birthday,
version 1 was 2006. Version 1, but Monad was, I think, already 2 years prior, or something.
Yeah, because I was kind of aware of PowerShell, but every time I needed to fix something, it was like, oh, I need to do this quickly. I haven't got time to learn a new language. I'm going to either do it in VBS or CMD. So I got quite adept with CMD, writing batch scripts to do stuff. And then finally, it's like, oh no, I'd probably need to get into this PowerShell stuff. And after a few months, because of my programming background, it sort of made a lot of sense. And it's like, why didn't I do this years ago? It's so much better. Because as I say to people who are trying to learn PowerShell, there is quite a steep learning curve, particularly if you don't know any other programming language. But once you mastered it, you can reuse it in so many different ways for so many different things. It's kind of like you're going downhill, as in downhill is a good thing, very quickly, as in you're gathering speed and being able to massively increase what you can do. Suddenly you can do stuff with Exchange Online, or dare I say it, SharePoint or other things, just because you've got a grounding in PowerShell itself.
Excellent. And how did you start learning? Just by having a use case where you said, okay, now I need to do it. I'm reading a book. I'm looking for some articles, documentation.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of books for this sort of thing for learning. It is usually hands-on. As I say to other people who are getting into this stuff, find a use case that you need to solve, and write something for it. But at the same time, taking other people's bits of code as well to try and understand. But I mean, the problem with that is trying to figure out, what's good code and what's bad code. The good thing about the internet is there's a lot of code out there. The bad thing about the internet is there's a lot of code out there, and you don't know if it's good, bad, or ugly. So if you think, oh yeah, I'm going to look at this code. Yeah, this person's doing it. Yeah, that's great. And then you realize, 6 months later, it's actually a bad way of doing it. So you're trying to figure out what's good and what's bad. So hopefully, people will go, oh yeah, I'm going to go and look at Guy's code. I think I'm kind of relatively unique. I think that might what we might call an oxymoron in English. Either something's unique or it isn't. But because of my background as a developer, I've come from writing C++ device drivers for Unix into the Windows sort of admin and EUC, end user computing world. Whereas most people in PowerShell, have just come from that admin side of things. They've not been, a full-time, a professional developer. So that I've got the background of, like I say, checking for errors and making things bulletproof where possible. Nothing's bulletproof, but sure. Expect the unexpected.
Okay, yeah, cool. So in this regard, also, what would you say? What was your most interesting PowerShell project or PowerShell projects, if there are more than one?
Yeah, that's a good question. First time for everything. Yeah, the advantage of what I do, because I work for multiple customers who are sort of software vendors, like ControlUp and Flexible and Parallels. I don't really have any long projects. They're all relatively short. I mean, some are so short, literally they'll take a couple of hours. It's like, can you write a script to, for instance, I've just done one for ControlUp to use the Azure REST API to change disk caching on the OS disk on Azure VMs. If it's not set, then you can set it to read write or read only, or change it back, whatever you want. And that's a pretty simple script to write, mainly because I've done lots of Azure REST ones before. So that's a couple of hours. But then some are ongoing. So I've got one that's been going on for about 6 months ago. It's probably started about 6 months ago. Dip into it every now and again. And the most interesting, or perhaps the most difficult, the two are kind of similar, was one I wrote for ControlUp, which again is available on their script library, sort of which you can get at and get the source for the PowerShell without even having to register. Is one for finding zombies, as in zombie processes.
Okay.
Where a zombie process is a process that should die, should exit, but can't because something else, some other process, has still got handles open to it. And this is, we see this a lot in EUC, where you've got no other users on a machine, somebody else logs on, and rather than getting session ID 2 or 3, they get session ID 200 because for some reason all the previous sessions are stuck or zombied. You look at Task Manager, no, you can't see any processes associated with these old sessions. But I wrote something that digs deep into the kernel, albeit with PowerShell, because with PowerShell you can do pretty much anything to surface those processes and these handles. So I can actually say, these are the processes which are guilty of having process handles open to processes which they should close. And that took my mind a long time to recover from writing that script, but it ultimately very useful to be able to say to a vendor, hey, you're opening all these handles and you're not closing them, because over time that can cause problems, particularly in slowness of systems.
And the script is kind of updated constantly, or is it kind of
that one kind of doesn't need updating because it just serves its purpose. I mean, the most famous one for ControlUp is something called Analyze Logon Duration, ALD for short, which actually is a script I didn't write. I inherited it when I started working for ControlUp in 2018. This is that you can run when the user's logged on to see exactly where time is spent during logon. Is it processing group policy? Is it doing Explorer auto runs, Apex packages? And that's something that's constantly being updated because new things happen. Windows evolves as well. So Windows 11 comes out with new stuff, and there's all these horrible Apex UWP packages. And people go, oh, there's this new thing or this third party. So I added bits to it for Citrix WEM and AppSense, or I suppose I should call it Ivanti Environment Manager, and VMware UEM. So that keeps getting bits added to it, and that's now 5,000 plus lines of code which has been hacked around by at least 6 different people.
Right.
I'd like to throw it away and start again, but that would take quite a long time. And given I'm paid by the hour,
Sure.
And I don't think anybody's going to want to invest that money. And it works. That's the key thing. And it's useful, and people can run that in the community if they've had a slow log on, much as they might want to get the Control-Up product because it's great. They can run the script standalone just in a session. Say, how long did it take my user to log on? Oh, look, there's a group policy that's taking 30 seconds. Right, let me see if I can make that a bit faster.
Cool. I think this actually is one of the things I think you also showed during our user group session at the beginning of the year. I think this was kind of at least some kind of this scenarios I think you covered. Yeah. Where, by the way, the recording is also available. So is there also any favorite PowerShell module that you like to use, or
not really? I know that's a common question, but one of the problems I've got, particularly writing scripts for Control-Up, is that we're not in control of the environment where the scripts run, because Control-Up's my customer, but Control-Up has their own customers who are the end user organizations, the banks, the insurance companies, whatever else. And if you say to them, you've got to have this module installed on this machine, they'll go, what's a module? How do I install it? And then you're giving them more problems. You're trying to give them a solution to manage their infrastructure, and you're just actually giving them more work to do. So I tend not to use third-party modules for that reason, which does sometimes mean copying and pasting code, sometimes re-implementing the wheel, but not often, to be fair. So I don't have any sort of third-party modules I tend to install, other than perhaps the Azure ones. So the scripts I write for Control-Up's interesting, because I write purely using the REST API, so I don't actually need any of the Azure commandlets, the Azure modules. But I also write Azure AVD scripts for Flexible, Spanish company. But there, because we are in control of the execution environment, I'd say yes, we must have the Azure PowerShell modules installed.
Yeah.
So I can then use get-az, sorry, I'm talking to our American viewers here. So I can use those instead. So I definitely use the Azure ones, but again, only the Microsoft ones. There's always worry about if I rely on a third-party person as opposed to company, is that always going to be there and be available? If I write a script that uses a module and that module goes away, okay, well the module is still available, but if there's a bug, is it going to get fixed?
Yeah, who is supporting it? Yeah, so we have the same thing with a lot of customers who really also rely on official modules from the original vendors, for sure. Someone asked, so Stuart asked, actually, do you have a link to the script? And Piotr already pasted it into the chat on LinkedIn. So I don't know if you can check if it's the right one.
Yeah, that looks good. And if you go to the top level of the script library there, you'll see there's probably 300 or 400 scripts, of which I've probably written at least half of them over my 5 years with Control-Up. But again, Control-Up wanted me to write scripts for them, partly because I know PowerShell, I can write it, but also because prior to getting into PowerShell, and still I'm seen as a troubleshooter in the EUC space. So that what I can do for them is two jobs for the price of one, if you like. It's like, because their software is for monitoring EUC environments and fixing them, they'll go say to Guy, if you had this problem, how would you diagnose it and how would you fix it? Yeah. Well, this is how my brain tells me to do it, and let me translate those brain waves into PowerShell code.
Yeah, perfect.
So ultimately, if I'm very successful with Control-Up, then I put myself out of a job because I've converted all my knowledge into scripts. But after 5 years,
I guess other companies might have use for your knowledge as well. I'm very sure.
Absolutely. And many have reached out, but unfortunately, due to various contracts, I can't do that. But I still have managed to have multiple customers, albeit in different spaces, albeit still within this EUC, end user computing, Citrix, VMware, AVD type space.
Cool. Okay, so I think we have another question that
shall I get this one up? Can you read that? The focus on the camera is not great, so I don't know if you can actually read that.
I've seen the stickers before, actually.
I think that's a company called Script Runner.
I heard about them. Yeah. Ooh, this one is. Well, you are well prepared. I mean,
no, these are great stickers. You know, I like stickers. I put them on my laptop, but these make great ones for calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
WTF placemat as well, and then I've also got my disguise if I need it, so I can go incognito.
that works. Yeah, this is the magic one, right? Yeah,
absolutely. No. The magic one is this one.
Ooh.
Yeah, as demoed in Rome. It even lights up. You hear it?
Ooh. Yeah, yeah.
Because if all else fails, if I can't fix the bug in PowerShell, then I just use a magic wand.
All right. Okay. I mean, you are really. I mean, you know how to solve problems, right? With whatever it takes.
Well, and that's an interesting point, because you say, well, whatever it takes, and I'd like to get to the bottom of problems. So, if anybody's followed me on Twitter and seen that I've been having a problem whereby the screen off setting, so to turn the screens off after a period of inactivity, has disappeared. And I finally cracked it today, and the stupid person who put something in was me. But I showed the troubleshooting steps towards it, and I think that's what I like to share with people. Now, I can't quite remember why I started telling you that story, but what did you say before that? Now I've lost my tangent.
I have no idea. I would say we just move on with with the next question.
I'll watch the recording and I go, oh yes.
No, I like this kind of conversation. This is really great. So I think the next one would be about what are your biggest challenges you faced working with PowerShell? Was there anything in particular, and how did you overcome things where you had difficulties working with PowerShell, or was it all easy for you because you came?
Failing, as we would say. Because the difficult period was that early period, but because PowerShell is very much object oriented, but because I come from a C++ background, then this idea of objects is kind of not new to me. But I still get errors, and if anybody's seen any of my live demos, because they're the only kind of demos I do. I don't do recorded demos, and I certainly don't do dead demos. Well, if I could demo when I'm dead, well, that could be interesting, but let's not get there yet. I do a live demo, and there will always be errors. Yeah, not deliberate ones going, oh yes, I deliberately did that error, which I would normally say just to cover myself, because we all make mistakes. Yeah, and the thing is, not to be put off when you see some of that red from PowerShell going, oh, there's an error. The key, as I say to people, is to actually read the error message. What has gone wrong? And if you're writing code, make sure you make your error messages, where possible, meaningful. So if there has been an error, what do I do to fix it? Or can you fix it itself within the script, depending on what it is? If some setting's not being set correctly, why don't you offer to change it? Or if a piece of software is missing that you need, can you download it? Can you give them a URL, say, go and download this piece of software, please?
Yeah.
And if if it's a fatal error, then rather than carrying on, get out of Dodge, as they say. Yeah. So rather than going, I had one of my customers come and say, I've got screenfuls and screenfuls of errors. I don't know where to start. Well, you just start with the first error, which happened to be fatal. It couldn't open a particular config file. So there was absolutely no point in continuing. But the person had written the script initially hadn't thought, oh, I better get out of here, better exit. And then there would be one error message, and the guy would have been able to fix it himself. Fortunately, the original developer didn't do that, so I got a few hours work out of it. So,
yeah, but I think that's a good advice. Going really that, like starting with reading the error message. I mean, it sounds easy, but oftentimes it's like,
Yeah, I would say you see people running, screaming. It's like, what's happened? What's happened? Is there a fire? Somebody was shot? No, I got a red PowerShell error. Did you read it? No, I just ran away screaming.
Yeah, fire. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So I think we have a question in regards to like some recent events, right, Markus?
Ooh, hopefully PowerShell event.
Oh, I just stuck to this hat, so I'm completely
okay.
I just follow up with the next question, and so that's an interesting question. So how much, coming back to all your titles, how much effort does it take to stay certified as a MVP, CTP, and vExpert? Oh, okay, another hat.
I'm a man of many hats, as they say.
Wow. Okay, so now every.
I think I've got back to front though.
A new hat for every question, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, it is something that does take a little bit of time of your own time. So you've got to be careful to get this work-life balance thing that I've heard about right. Because if you're a youngish person with a young family, then that's where your time should be spent, not out of hours. Because unless you've got a very understanding employer. My employer isn't very understanding because it's me, but also if I do community stuff during the day, then that's time I'm not earning money, because I charge customers by the hour. But contribution wise, you need to be seen to be doing something at least probably at least once a week, I would say. It depends what it is. I mean, so my contributions, which you put in annually for each of those award programs, are a mixture of scripts on GitHub, stats on my Twitter, because as well as sharing terrible dad jokes on Twitter, I do try and share technical information and links to PowerShell scripts that I've written. And again, my contributions are PowerShell scripts as well, because a lot of the time it's not, what shall I write and give to the community today? It's, I've had a problem on my laptop or in my lab or at a customer, and this is what I've done to fix it because I want to go and use PowerShell to do it, and this is how I've done it. And I'll share it with the community, and people will go, "Oh yeah, that's useful." I've yet to directly monetize that, but again, that's where you become a vendor, and you don't get community awards because you're doing it for yourself rather than the good of the community. But the community awards, help me, establish my credentials, if you like, so people can go, "Oh yeah, actually the vendors think Guy knows about this PowerShell stuff, so perhaps it actually does," rather than he talks a lot about it, posts a lot, but his scripts are absolute rubbish. No one's told me that yet, but I still learn. I look at other people's scripts, or people look at my scripts and say, "Actually, Guy, no, this is wrong," or "Have you thought about doing it this way?" So every day is a school day. Still, I'm always learning new stuff, whether it's a new technique. So I've learned some stuff today. Again, shared on Twitter. So probably at least a quarter of my day, my working day at least, is putting stuff on Twitter just to share with people, to help them. Because originally Twitter was my own personal knowledge base. I put stuff on there because I knew that the next time I hit that problem, I'd have forgotten what it was, what the solution was. Because with old age, you tend to forget things. Well, I think you do. I don't remember. But the idea with Twitter, or X as I should call it, is that it's very easy to search your own posts or other people's posts for specific keywords. So quite often I'll go back and say, "Oh, what one-liner did I use for that?" And I'll just go back, and within a couple of searches, because I know how to manually search Twitter quite well using keywords like since and from and to, then you can find this stuff pretty quickly. So it's useful for me, but if it's useful for other people as well, then brilliant. As long as Twitter keeps going, of course, which I'm kind of hoping, despite some people's best efforts to kill it off. But I don't want to get political.
Okay, yeah. So I still like Twitter. I like the people who are there. So I get a lot of information from there as well, and sharing information. So I think still.
Well, I've not found a good viable alternative yet. I don't know if you folks have got one, or if any of the listeners have. I've got an account on Blue Sky, which is nice because it looks like Twitter, but I don't see a huge amount of activity on there. LinkedIn's kind of different. I think I get a different audience there, so I don't share that much on LinkedIn. I've got Threads, and I get notifications every day that I've got new Threads followers, but there might be bots like they are on Twitter.
Okay, so you're basically everywhere, but not on TikTok. That's what I learned before we started.
The young people, isn't it? TikTok and Instagram. I'm looking for a service where I can send faxes. Yeah,
that would be a thing for sure. All right, so let's move on to another question. It's more related to things that just happened recently. It's about what's your opinion on the Broadcom VMware deal? Any opinion?
Something happened. I must have missed that one. That was
I can send you a tweet maybe afterwards. So
I wonder why, because I put a bid in for VMware and I didn't hear anything about it. But yeah, perhaps Broadcom put in a bit more money than me.
Yeah, maybe. It looks like it.
My deal was mainly stickers because I don't have a great deal of money. But yeah, that's an interesting one, and it's been quite painful because it's kind of been played out in public. And I've got people I know who, friends, even real friends, not just imaginary ones that are surrounding me today, who work for VMware, and I've seen it quite a distressing time for them because this has been in the offing and on the table for a long time, and it was going to close, then it didn't, and it's what's Broadcom going to do, particularly in the EUC space, where we've got the VMware Horizon products. Are my friends in that area going to be out of jobs? What's Broadcom going to do with it? And we still don't know. There's a lot of conjecture out there, so it's good for the pundits who want to go and say, oh yeah, this is my view on it, of which I've read quite a few views, but really nobody knows. I think VMware would be, or Broadcom, as I should say now, because I think the VMware branding has gone from various buildings and so on. The VMware Slack channel that we use for vExpert disappeared for a while, but it's back, and I did post yesterday in the Slack, is the vExpert EUC, is vExpert Slack back yet? And somebody did take the bait and go, of course it is, Guy, you're posting to it. It's like, yeah, I was joking, but don't worry about it. But yeah, so I don't think they'll get rid of EUC. Whether it'll float off as a different business unit, I don't know. But I mean, we've got uncertainty about Citrix as well, because I think a lot of people have moved away from Zen Server now, but are people going to start to move away from vSphere and ESXi because of uncertainty there? In which case, where are they going to go to? They're going to go to Nutanix, or they're going to go cloud and go Azure maybe, or AWS.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Time will tell.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we will have to watch, I think, what happens in the next couple.
Yeah, I've seen a few things about. I've seen some VMware or Broadcom employees saying, they can't say they work for Broadcom now because that then means they're subject to much stricter social media controls, and it's like, really? Oh, come on.
Yeah, and I think, and I mean, VMware is such a strong brand. I mean, everybody in the IT space knows it, and Broadcom, I don't know, but VMware is I mean, it's a brand that's really worth something. So I hope they keep it.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll see. Okay, so I think we have. Let's take a look at the time. Oh, already 45 minutes, but I think maybe we can sneak in another one or two questions.
Go on then.
Yeah, sure. So how have Microsoft's Citrix and VMware technologies evolved during your career, and what impact has this had on businesses and IT infrastructure?
That is an interesting question, because in some ways, if we talk about my Windows career, but that's only been going since 1995, so we're only talking 28 years out of my. Yes, I started coding professionally in 1988, so that's how many years? Yeah. Many, yes, thank you. More than two, as we would say, although I only deal in noughts and ones. But in some ways, very little has changed in that time. When I first got involved with Citrix in 1995 compared with now, in that, if I was looking at it with my Citrix or EUC implementers hat on, then it is still very much battling against what I would call a crap app, an app that's not really designed to work outside of a physical workstation. So back in 1995, few people had heard of Citrix. So you say, oh, there's a problem implementing your software on Citrix. And they go, implementing on what? Oh, no, we don't support that. Never heard of that. So you'd say to people, well, I've got this workstation that's shared by several people at different times of the day. They don't log on as admins, and your software doesn't work correctly. Oh, yes, yeah, we can support that, because that's effectively what Citrix and later VMware Horizon and AVDR, they're people using the same operating system on the same machine, or not. There's single user VDI where a person's got a machine each, but that's far less efficient resource-wise and license-wise than using a multi-user system. But because vendors, they're still producing crap apps, apps that don't work properly, multi-user apps that don't work properly as non-admins, that don't respect the resources, so they'll go and eat lots of CPU or memory or both, and that's changed very little. Even though people are going, oh yeah, everything's going SaaS now. No, everything isn't going SaaS. Yes, people are using Salesforce and other things and using web-based applications, but a lot of my probably former customers, I should say, because most of my customers now are software vendors, so I'm kind of indirect. They're going to have Win32 apps for decades. There's a UK police force that I still do the occasional bit of work for, because everybody who knew the Citrix implementation I put in left, so I'm about the only person who knows anything about it. And they're going to have some of those apps for decades more, because the vendor who's providing the application, and they tend to provide the same application to multiple police forces, so multiple verticals, or one vertical with multiple companies. And what's the driver for them to re-architect to a SaaS app? If they can still charge the same amount of money for their Win32 app, as long as they can charge a subscription model, that's the key, because most people want to go subscription rather than perpetual now, as in you get a monthly fee rather than a one-time license cost and then ongoing maintenance and or technical support, which is where the SaaS comes in. Then why am I going to spend 6 months of development time, which is going to cost a lot of euros, and then I just stick with what I've got, because customers will buy it. Customers aren't going to go, oh, I'm not buying this because it's not SaaS. It's not happening. So new products, they'll be SaaS, but there's going to be a lot of old ones for a long time yet. People say this whole EUC thing is dead, but 10 years time, well, I might just have retired by then, although I'm not interested in retiring. In fact, I'm getting letters from my pension providers now saying, oh, Guy, you said you're going to retire at 56, which has been and gone. No. Well, perhaps I can't afford to, but I know I just enjoy working too much.
That's the key, I think. As long as you're enjoying it, I think that's...
Oh, I'm lucky. I realize a lot of people aren't lucky in that respect.
That's the main thing. I think we can maybe go to the last question for today, before we maybe ask you about your plans for Christmas. But before we do that, a little bit about what's going on today and maybe in the future. So what emerging trends do you see in IT in general? What do you find most exciting, and how do you think it will change the future of IT and what we are doing? ChatGPT, blink, 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 maybe.
Need a beard so I can ponder. What if this cloud thing might take off? You never know. But
I thought it's just for one season.
Yeah, well, it might not either, because of the cost of it. So we'll see. You do see people coming back in-house, on premises. Notice the S on the end, quite often, simply because of the cost of cloud. So cloud's good because it's somebody else, an SEP, as we say in hitchhiker's parlance, somebody else's problem to look after the kit. So you just have a service. But our app's going to go SaaS. Yeah, they might do. But I see a lot of stuff. I see a lot of people talking about Kubernetes and containers, and for a while that used to worry me. I was thinking, I'm a dinosaur in this industry because I'm just doing this end user computing stuff and a bit of PowerShell, and I'm going to be left behind because I need to do these containers and all this other stuff. And then I think, hold on, we've got this breadth of an industry. We've got so many different technologies. Do you want to be a jack of all trades and master of none, which typically the IT people in a small organization have to be out of necessity? That's not an insult. It's just they have to look after everything, including probably the toaster and the kettle, because IT gets called upon when those go bad as well. But do we worry about skills? Yeah, I mean, yes, if your skills are just Paradox databases, yes, you might need to, take your skills that little bit further forward. But don't
or
worry
DBase maybe.
But,
or DBase maybe.
DBase, yeah. Oh, that was mentioned by IBM relatively recently. That's still an ongoing product for them.
What?
Probably because they've got lots of old COBOL code running it.
Okay. Wow.
But yeah, don't get worried about being left behind. Yeah. But by the same token, always learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not forever sat using Pluralsight or something like that. I think, what course shall I watch tonight? But I'm always thinking, oh, that's interesting. I'll get into that. Or somebody's mentioned this. Let me see if it's of interest to me.
Yeah.
So be aware of what's going on. So be open to change, but not necessarily change for change's sake.
I think that's the greatest way. It's like staying curious about things that.
Curious is good, but you've got to be careful because curiosity can kill cats.
I heard about that. But so what just comes to my mind is I think it was during a session from Doug Fink where he talked obviously about PowerShell AI, where you started to tweet on, I think I should start looking at it, and so it sounded like, okay, now this is something that I see some interesting use cases. Let's try it out to see what it can do and maybe what it can't do, but find out where it has its place in the toolbox.
Yeah, AI is an interesting one because for a long time I was that person who's saying, AI. It's, I don't know if you know the classic machine gun sort of cartoon or meme as we call them these days, where there's a guy fighting off people with a spear, and there's a salesman come to try and sell him a machine gun. A much more efficient way of dealing with the problem. Negotiations will be better, of course, but hey, and he's saying, no, I'm too busy, and that was me. It was like, I need to look at this AI stuff. No, I'm too busy trying to solve these problems. I'll just stick to using search engines and other stuff. And now I have actually had time to look at it. I've had lots of other people sort of nag me, Doug being one. It's like, you need to look at this stuff, and I've looked at it, and I now pay $20 or UK pounds or euros or shekels or whatever it is per month for a Chat GPT subscription, because that to me, if it saves me an hour, more than pays for itself. So I quite often will ask Chat GPT a question. I asked it one today. Is I was having some problems with cleanly closing a Windows Teams instances. So to clean them, to close them gracefully as opposed to just killing the processes. And I got a bit stuck. I figured it all out on my own again because of my Windows developer background, so I know about Windows messages and sending them to Windows. And I asked ChatGPT, and it agreed with me. But the problem I find with ChatGPT is every time it can be useful for sort of fairly generic stuff, if you're asking it something very specific, rather than saying it doesn't know, it's that annoying colleague who will tell you lies. And then it does have a disclaimer at the bottom warning you should check everything, but it might give you some PowerShell code and go, oh, use this, and you'll go and use it and you'll find it doesn't work. Whereas I can look at it and go, that's not going to work. And I go, oh yes, sorry, I made a mistake. And it'll learn, it'll go and do it again. So by the second or third iteration or question of the same topic, you might have got a working answer. Sometimes you don't. So what I find with the AI stuff that I've used with ChatGPT, not looked at Copilot yet, again just a time thing, but I will do, is that if it's a sort of mainstream thing, how do I write PowerShell? How do I get a list of files in PowerShell? Yeah, it's going to help you. But if you've got an edge case, which is generally where I get stuck, because doing PowerShell all day, every day, as I do, I'm fairly familiar with it. So it's those little tricky bits I struggle with, where ChatGPT just flat out lies to me on time, which is annoying. But you can only punch the screen so many times, can't you?
That's true. Yeah, but again, it's a space we have to watch. Because I think things will getting even better. And by the way, I think you have a fan here on YouTube, right? So I just had to.
Lindell. Yeah, one of my control colleagues and a member of the EUC Breakfast Club (West Yorkshire) chapter, the original and best Breakfast Club.
All right.
We're meeting. In fact, we're having a Christmas lunch a week on Friday.
All right, nice.
I think does lunch.
Okay. There's another one coming in here. Me too. So now all your fans are coming in.
I'm more with some people.
I wonder if you paid them to do this, or is this just?
Well, these are the people I did ping on the chat, and they're pinging me in our WhatsApp group at the moment. But Chris hasn't looked like that for like 20 years. That is him. But again, Chris is one of the guys behind the EUC forum, which is what replaced the Citrix user group in the UK, because we found it had gone a little bit stale. So the AVD forum and the Citrix user group kind of merged to produce the EUC forum. So we're kind of vendor agnostic now, which again is another great way to get involved with the community and to meet and talk to people. With, oh yeah, I've got Citrix, you've got Citrix. Yeah, have you got a problem with this? And it can give people different perspectives. But now we can talk about AVD and VMware Horizon and Nutanix Frame and Parallels RAS and all those other great products that are out there, because there's choice now, which is nice.
Absolutely. Cool. So I think, Markus, we could just close out with, I think we did this last year also for the last session. Like, okay, what are your plans for Christmas? Any special?
I've not been given them yet. She's not put them in the diary.
Really?
Yeah.
But it will be there no matter what. It will come.
We'll see. If it's we say in this household, if it's not in the diary, it's not happening. I think it's Christmas on the 25th this year.
I'm not. Could be actually. I mean, for us over here, it starts at the 24th.
No, my maternal grandmother was of German heritage, and I remember we used to do things on Christmas Eve.
All right.
Way back when, back in the 80s. But yeah, no real plans at all. Just chill. No alcohol, because I gave that a couple of years ago.
And just scripting away through.
Well, I will be, because when there's family thing, all my kids are grown up. So my youngest is 24. But when we've got my granddaughter, then I'll definitely spend time with her. I can hear her giggling downstairs now, and watching Christmas films. Cool. So I'll get some time then. But when people are sat downstairs watching boring TV programs, then the laptop will come out, and I might do some work. I've got a backlog yay big. Where's my other hand? There. No, it's probably a bit bigger. Depends on the font, I think, and font size of things I want to investigate and play with.
All right.
So it's just getting that mix. So I say you've got to have a good, or try and get a work-life balance, but enjoy what you do as well. So I'll be doing some fun things with PowerShell, if that's not a contradiction in terms, as well as maybe some work stuff.
Cool. Sounds cool. Markus, how about you?
Are you going to record music?
Well, let's hear Markus first. Do you have any plans?
Just chill as well. So for the 3 Christmas days, it's no work at all. Just reading books, having some video games, and enjoy time with the family, of course. And
eating, drinking,
eating, then more eating.
Yeah. So that's the same with me. So my parents are now in their late 80s. So I always being great being with them. And then afterwards, because we have a few days off, I plan to go to Belgium. Maybe I'm going to do a pre-tour to the PSConf location for next year. Not sure, but I've never been to Antwerp, so that's on the list. Maybe we will end up there end of the year.
Thank you for the reminder. I must submit my sessions for that.
Yes, I think it's closing pretty soon, right?
I've got a date in my diary with I think probably a week reminder for it, because I've got some ideas. But again, if any of the people out there have got ideas for, within reason, for sessions they'd like on PowerShell, I've got a couple of new ideas for sessions, which I will push out.
Cool. Yeah. So I think, thanks a lot. There was a lot of interesting information, really inspiring, and also some fun stuff, of course, some dad jokes as expected. I heard them. I think you have to watch the recording. You will find them, guys. So they are hidden somewhere. So so thanks everyone for joining. Because it's the last one, so already have a nice festive season. Have happy holidays, and we will have our next Ask Me Anything session most probably end of January. And until then, take care, everyone. Again, Guy, thanks a lot for joining.
You're welcome. It's been fun. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Guy. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Happy Christmas.
Bye.
Ho, ho, ho.
Bye.